Hannity's America, we continue exposing how President Obama's re-election campaign has quickly become the dirtiest in political history. And since we all know Barack Obama is unable to run on his record, he's forced to use another dirty trick, and that is divide and conquer. And for him, well, that means drawing a line between the rich and poor. Now watch how his spin masters are using class warfare to try and win votes come November.
We owe our country a better future.
In 2008, he promised a new direction for America.
I say, let us begin the work together. Let us unite.
Remember what his message was? Unity. I'm going to unify the country. We all stand as one. I'm going to stop these divisions.
Now, in this election, the message of unity is gone, and class warfare is now the president's go-to campaign strategy.
1 in 4 millionaires pays a lower tax rate than millions of hardworking middle-class households.
In order to distract from his dismal job numbers and a terrible economy, the president has turned his re-election into us against them, the haves versus the have-nots.
Should we ask middle-class Americans to pay even more at a time when their budgets are already stretched to the breaking point? Or should we ask some of the wealthiest Americans to pay their fair share? That's the choice.
In 2012, he's running on exactly the opposite message. Divide the country. Rich people versus everyone else. Those evil rich people, they're not paying their fair share of taxes.
Everybody paying their fair share.
Do their fair share.
Fair share.
Fair share. Fair share.
Pay their fair share.
Fair share.
Pay their fair share.
That is the height of unfairness.
It's almost like a scene out of that Batman movie where Bane takes over New York City and he says to the people, your oppressors are those rich people, the people who live in the penthouses.
We can either settle for an economy where a few people do really well and everybody else struggles to get by, or we can build an economy where hard work pays off again, where everyone gets a fair shot, everyone does their fair share, and everyone plays by the same rules.
But President Obama does not want to call it class warfare.
Some see this as class warfare. I see it as a simple choice. We can either keep taxes exactly as they are for millionaires and billionaires, or we can ask them to pay at least the same rate as a plumber or a bus driver.
So now, in order to take on Mitt Romney, the president and his allies have their eyes set on a bigger target, the rich.
President Obama needs a scapegoat, so he has to find some villain. And he has made rich people or successful people, people who succeed in life and create businesses and make money, as the villains in the economy.
The Romney rule lets fat cats rig the system, so they pay less and pass on the burden to hardworking Americans like you and me. When the wealthiest 1% pay a fair tax rate like the rest of us, it keeps the American dream alive for everyone. So tell Mitt Romney, kittens are cute. 1% fat cats who won't pay their fair share? Not so much.
But it's not just to win an election. With America on the verge of falling off the fiscal cliff, Democrats are using this divisive rhetoric to push for higher taxes or else.
So if we can't get a good deal, a balanced deal that calls on the wealthy to pay their fair share, then I will absolutely continue this debate into 2013, rather than lock in a long-term deal this year that throws middle-class families under the bus.
Make no mistake, what the Democrats are proposing today is an entirely avoidable high-stakes game of chicken with the single-minded goal of taking more money from those who earn it for government to waste.
Congressional leaders have been, Republican leaders have been very clear that they will hold hostage tax cuts for the 98% of the American people to their insistence that millionaires and billionaires get tax cuts too.
Now, this budget showdown will likely pit the president against his vice presidential rival just as the campaign hits a fever pitch, with President Obama calling out Paul Ryan's plan as, quote, not serious.
There's nothing serious about a plan that claims to reduce the deficit by spending $1 trillion on tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires.
When the president is ready to get serious about it, we're going to be here working. Exploiting people's emotions of fear, envy, and anxiety is not hope. It's not change. It's partisanship.
If you look at the top 10% in this country, all the people in the top 1 out of 10 Americans in income, and those tend to be business owners and entrepreneurs, they're 10% of the people, but guess what? They pay 70% of the taxes. The top 20% in this country pay over 90% of the taxes. So it is a tax system that is actually highly dependent on rich people.
You got the top 2% paying almost half of all income taxes. Is that fair? We want an income tax system that's fair according to the Obama administration's own standards. We already have it.
But class warfare is not who we are. The top 10% of income earners already pay more than 70% of the income taxes in the country. We could jack that up to 80 or 90%, as President Obama would have us do. But that's not the point. While it might make the class warfare crusaders feel better, it wouldn't create a single job in America, and it would destroy many.
Now, the partisan divide is now only growing as liberals from coast to coast have eagerly adopted the president's class warfare talking points.
We're walking today because the city has been occupied by an invasion of the one percenters who have destroyed our school system.
Mr. Obama's for the middle class. Romney is not for the middle class. He's the one percenter.
Mitt Romney is the candidate of the 1%.
Barack Obama has been kind of the leader of the Occupy Wall Street movement, right? He's using the very same rhetoric that those kind of fanatics that were protesting in front of Wall Street were using about it's the top 1% versus the 99%. And if only the 1% didn't have all the money, then all of us would be doing better.
Take a look at what would happen if Romney's America. The Occupy guys have it all wrong. They want to teach us about class warfare and envy and taking from others. The American dream isn't that you're entitled to your neighbor's property. The American dream is that if you work hard, you can achieve your dreams. Your children can do even better than you've done. Every generation wants that for our children.
But with the days ticking away towards the election, the important question is it working? Now, there is some evidence that it is not. Now, the Democratic think tank Third Way polled independent voters in 12 battleground states and found that independents don't buy the tax fairness argument.
They don't see themselves as victims in the system. So about 60% of them say our system is basically fair. When you ask them how to grow the economy, they didn't talk about fairness. They talked about opportunity.
We will soon know just how effective this class warfare rhetoric really is.
I just think Americans ultimately will reject this class warfare message because they understand the people who sign the paychecks tend to be job creators, and they tend to be the very kind of people that Barack Obama is villainizing.
And coming up, the president has armed himself with several key figures to orchestrate this campaign who are beneath the dignity of the Oval Office. Coming up next, we spotlight the member of Team Obama who has truly taken this campaign to historic moral lows. That's next.